looked in earlier editions at how to generate and keep the power that you're creating down through your wheels to create traction and drive. With all the good technique in the world, if your bike lets you down, all of that power can come to nothing. There are many reasons, or a few main reasons, why you might lose some of that power, and it usually comes down to the wear and tear and productivity of your drivetrain. Gear setup aside, which we'll look at a later date, main components when it comes to your drivetrain are going to be obviously your chain, cassette, your rings at the front and your bottom bracket. So we're going to look at how to check for wear and tear, how to identify the problem and how to solve the problem. One of the most common wear and tear issues is your chain stretching, and once it stretches to a certain amount it's not going to fit with the cassette, the teeth on the cassette or the front rings particularly well. So we just need a small tool here to check when that wear and tear is getting to a point of change it now and when we can get away with it. There's two sides to the chain tool, one with a 0.75 marker and one with a 1 marker. If I lodge in with the 0.75, it should sit proud, just shouldn't quite fit in between the links of the chain. This one, as you can see, fits in nice and easily. That means it's beyond the time at which we should change it. If it was just about right, the 0.75 side would sit just flush and wouldn't sink into one of the female ends. So this chain needs to go. If you catch the chain early enough, on the 1 setting, it won't fit in nicely. That means I won't necessarily have to change the cassette as well. But by the time the chain is stretched as much as this one, whereby both sides clearly easily fit in, it's going to have worn the cassette to an extent that the new chain won't sit flush with the new cassette, and therefore replacing one without the other is fruitless. So, time for a new cassette. The next piece of the drivetrain we need to consider is the cassette. Now, we've established from measuring the chain that we've left it a bit long and the chain stretch is probably significant enough to have worn the teeth on the cassette down to a point where a new chain will jump around, and any changing of the chain won't actually benefit you at all. The chain and the cassette wear together, so although they might skip intermittently when they're both worn, replace one without the other and you'll find that the skipping is even worse. Easy to tell when your cassette is getting particularly worn is the teeth become very much more pointed rather than having the flatter top to them and slightly wider profile. The gears that I use most frequently in the middle of the block are the ones that are more pointed, and they're the ones that it's jumping around. The ones towards the top of the block where I don't use them so much aren't nearly so worn. So, having removed the wheel, get the quick release out of the way. Stash that somewhere nice and safe where it's not going to get covered in mud. And first off, we just need to remove this locking nut with a specific tool that slots in, and then we're going to need to use a chain whip. Obviously, to undo that, the direction I'm turning the nut is the same direction as the hub turns. Come to tightening up, it's not such a problem. So what we're going to need is a chain whip. This will allow us to hold the cassette in place while I undo the nut.
Yep.
Simply a case of undoing the outer, possibly a little bit further, out comes your locking nut, and off comes your cassette. Having removed your cassette, good opportunity to have a bit of a clean up and check over of your free hub, check it's all in good order, maybe give it a clean and a re-grease. The ridges aren't uniform, so we need to marry up the holes with the ridges, otherwise you're going to have a very tough job of getting your new cassette on. So as we look in there, you can see that these noggins here and these spaces here are different sizes. So we're going to find the biggest one on the cassette, on the free hub rather, and the biggest one on the cassette, and line the two puppies up and slide her on. So, having popped her back on, found the right place for all the holes to go, just going to tighten the old nut up. You don't want to go too mad with the tightening. Again, needs to be nice and firm, nice and secure, but don't over tighten. If you've got your torque wrench, again it'll tell you on the locking nut what sort of tightness to do it to, what sort of pressure you should be using, and if you've got the time and the tool, good idea to do that. Don't want to over tighten, but if you haven't, just a bit of common sense really.